You through the financials, and we'll start with the balance sheet side, just to give you some of the highlights. So our balance sheet continues to grow, 6% growth in total, closing H1 at 668 billion. The major driver for this is net loans and advances, which grew by 4%. The actual gross loans, because that is already adjusted for the IFRS 9 impact, grew by close to 7%. Kenya still continues being the bedrock of the group, contributing about 87% of the total balance sheet, and the growth of the Kenya business is also quite robust, with the balance sheet growing by about 8% to 583 billion. Just taking that total loan position and breaking it down further, unfortunately, we're comparing the top part of that slide is comparing the sectorial portfolio across the industry. They haven't posted. Central Bank hasn't posted the Q1 numbers yet, so we're comparing. The gray part is 2017 versus KCB, which is the blue bars at H1 2018, and you can see that about 80% of our loan is spread down from trade going down to building and construction, manufacturing, real estate, and of course household and personal loans taking the largest at 35%. It mirrors somewhat how the industry allocation of loans is. So we are not too skewed, with the exception of I think building and construction. In terms of how that gross loan has been spread out on growth, evenly split between our consumer or retail business and corporate, contributing equally to the growth so far between Q1 last year and Q1 this year. And then the spread from a currency point of view, 18% of the total loan portfolio is in foreign currency. Moving on to just look at our asset quality. This is some good news, some good traction we are now getting out of the hard work we're putting on managing our asset portfolio. It's one area that we've always talked about, say that we will focus to bring that number down to at least 5 within a couple of years. In Q2 we've seen a decline from the high of 9.8 in Q1, and we're closing at 8.4. Our cost of risk number is looking low, and this is a question that we get a lot, especially from the investors. And the primary reason for that is how we've treated the day one adjustment of IFRS 9, and I'll come into that conversation later. So our cost of risk is sitting at 0.4. Usually it hangs around 1%, and that's, as I've said, it's largely driven by the IFRS 9 treatment. Again, the split, the pie between foreign currency and local currency, the bulk of our NPLs are in local currency at 92%. And then from our internal sectors, you see Check-off, which is the big personal, what I showed earlier on the personal lending, which contributes 35% of our book. It actually carries the lowest NPL risk at 3.2, and the highest coming out of SME and macro, which is what the industry has always said, especially when the law of capping came up in 2016, that SMEs will take the brunt because they carry the highest risk in the book, and when you cannot really price that risk, then most institutions will take a decision on how to lend. In terms